What's up, everybody? Welcome back to We'll Laugh About This Tomorrow, episode 3. Uh, this has been cool. This has officially became like a really fun hobby of mine. I enjoy writing my podcast notes. I know I'm still learning, so bear with me as I get a hold of this podcast thing and stop jumping all over the place. But I mean, to me, it makes the story cool because things pop in my head that I didn't remember when I was writing my podcast notes, and then I just, oh yeah, I remember this, and I start talking about it. Um, the response has been super cool. The support has been super cool. People contacting me I haven't talked to in a while. Had somebody contact me from the UK that was saying they randomly found my podcast and it's really cool and they can't wait for the next episodes. And they're a recovering addict from the same thing, from pain medication. So it's really cool. And it's officially became like a very fun hobby to me, and I like doing this, and I think I'll keep doing this regardless of how many streams and likes and comments and stuff I get. I think it's still going to help somebody out there. Is still going to enjoy it and still enjoy hearing the stories of what I talk about. I know it's not as extreme as other people that are addicts that go through stuff, but hey, everybody's story is different. So we in the last episode, I ended it where I tried to take my own life. So stemming off of that, I of course was off work now because of this. So I mean, I had to tell my wife. I had to, you know, tell the people closest to me that I tried to do this and I needed to get help. And I felt like I needed to get help because I've always been that person like I could never do that. I could never take my own life. I'm too much of a pussy to do that kind of thing. And for me to actually attempt it and know that I thought that's what I was doing by taking those soma pills, like that's what I was trying to execute and get done, scared the shit out of myself. So this is, I mean, I'm just gonna forget about the timeline because this episode is gonna be all over the place. I want to talk about scandalous things that addicts do and things that I did and all that. But so I so now I'm off work for mental distress and I'm collecting disability. So I go to the doctor, and this is the new doctor because the old doctor retired that I had been going to. So this is the same doctor in that building, or same building, new doctor. So I end up going to this doctor. I tell her about my depression a little bit, very little, but I mainly focus on my knee. I tell her like my knee is killing me because it is, and I know everything stems from my knee. In my mind, at least, I have this knee pain, and I need to get it handled. But I didn't want to do a third surgery because I needed to make money and support not only my addiction, but I needed to support my family. So I tell her about my knee. I tell her I had depression from my knee, from not getting sleep, from being locked up and lonely at where I was working at the moment, and climbing wind turbines wasn't helping me anymore. And I thought I got a position where I didn't have to climb as much, but I was still having to climb daily. So she goes, okay, well, let's get an MRI done and go from there. So I get an MRI done. I go to a place called South, or it's called Southern California Orthopedic Institute. So I go there. They give me the MRI. To my surprise, my knee is torn. It's pretty bad at this point, but the pain wasn't as bad because I was taking so many pain pills a day that I masked it so much that I didn't really realize how bad it was messed up. Because they even told me like you should be in pretty bad pain, like barely able to walk. And I was like, oh well, I don't know. I'm used to it. Maybe I was used to it at that point. The pain was masked and I was numb, so I didn't really feel the pain. And when I did feel the pain, it was pop another pill. So I get the MRI, I go back to the doctor, and she goes, yeah, your knee's jacked up. She's like, how bad is your pain? Of course, I tell her my pain level is like an 8, 9, 10 on some days. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to give you some pain medication. So she gives me 5 through 25 Norcos, which is really weak shit. At the time, especially for me, it was really weak. And I get the prescription. 2 weeks later, I go back in there. And I'm like, these are not strong enough. Like, they're barely letting me sleep. They barely, scratch the surface of my pain on my knee. And she's like, okay, well, let's bump you up to 10 through 25 Norcos. So I was like, perfect. That's what I take anyways. That's my perfect thing I want. So she gives me 10 through 25 Norcos. So I'm set. I'm getting Norcos. She's giving me 120 a month. I think it's like, I don't know, 4 times a day or something like that. Of course, I'm not taking them that much, but I still have uh, my other supplier. So if I can make 120 pills last 2 weeks and save up $500, $600 to buy 100 more to last me the other 2 weeks, then I'm good. I don't have to. I don't have to scrounge around for pills. So as long as I make 120 pills last 2 weeks, I'm good. So that's exactly what I do. I have a person that I buy the prescription off of them, and I make it last 2 weeks. And I go to the doctor and get a prescription that's a month and make that last 2 weeks, and so on and so forth. Except this doctor is like trying to speed it along, right? Which is all fine and dandy because I want my knee fixed, but at the same time, I'm like, I gotta try to level myself out. I gotta. This is the thing addicts do. They try to make things last, right? Like, okay, if I buy this many, then I gotta make it last, and I'll be all right. If I can save money here and save money here without the wife knowing, of course, and without anybody suspecting that I'm saving money for that or have any money to begin with, I'll be fine. So I'm doing that for a couple months, and the surgery date comes around. So I'm like, all right, let's get this surgery done. And I go in, I do the surgery. They say that they got it all the best they could. There was a lot of scar tissue. I might have problems with my knee going forward, but they think they did a pretty good job. And so in my mind, I don't really care. Like, yeah, I want to get rid of the knee pain, but my main focus now is like, okay, I need to try to actually get off these painkillers. Like, they cost me a ton of money every month. I can never find a supplier that has enough when I need them. Like, I need to, and truthfully, I've wanted to get off them for a long time, but I just never validated it enough to, tell or make it happen to where I actually could get off. Like, I validated it with my knee pain. I always justified it with something, and taking certain amounts or a ton of amounts certain days, I would award myself like, oh, I busted my ass today at work. My knee's killing me. I deserve 2 more pills or 3 more pills or. So it was kind of how I talked about in one episode. Like, a hobby, every time you do something like, oh, I'm going to go do this, I pop pills, kind of similar, but I would award myself like, oh, I busted my ass. I did the dishes. I vacuumed the house. I cleaned all the rooms. I deserve 2 more pills. I mean, not only did I take 2 pills to do it all, but I deserve 2 more for completing it. And that it was just a vicious cycle. So I always needed pills. Always needed pills. And I'm telling myself, like, there would be some days where I'd take so many pills where I just feel like shit because I took so many. And I wouldn't say it was overdose. I would just say I'd forget to like eat good food. I would eat junk food and stuff, and I would just feel like crap. And like, it would get bad sometimes where I remember I don't remember what it was. My knee was like achy. This is after the surgery. This is just a little side story. And it was my kid's birthday, and I knew it was my kid's birthday. And I took some Norcos to try to push through it to, be Mr. Dad at the birthday party. But I took some and they didn't work, and I ended up taking like a couple more, and they didn't work, and then I ended up feeling like crap. And I was completely absent of my whole son's birthday, and I will regret that forever. And it was noticed. My wife was pissed, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you've just been sitting in the room the whole time while your son has his friends over on his birthday, and his dad's just not involved. And it's just me. I feel like crap. I feel like crap. And I'll always regret that because I remember my wife talked to me about it, and it just made me feel even more like shit when I already knew that I was avoiding it because I felt like crap and I didn't want to be involved. Yeah, there's a lot of situations that happen like that in my life that I will regret until the day that I die. But I have the future to make it all up and be a better dad and be a better husband. Anyways, so I get the knee surgery, so now it's time for physical therapy. I go to my first appointment of physical therapy, the like assessment appointment, and they tell me blah blah blah. This is what we're gonna do 2 times a week, and then towards the end we'll try to go 3 times a week, and really get your knee strengthening up. And then COVID comes around, and COVID starts shut down all the physical therapy places. So they shut down. This is like beginning of 2020. They shut down the physical therapy places, and it was only like existing clients that were allowed to go to physical therapy. So I was a new client, so they're like, oh, sorry, like we'll let you know when we're able to bring you in. And so I use that as an excuse to my doctor, like, hey, like I'm not able to do physical therapy right now. Like I need more pain medication because my knee is still killing me because I haven't been able to do physical therapy. And she buys it. She buys it at first. And then about 2 months after surgery, I'm still using the same excuse. And and this doctor was honestly a savior. And I'll tell you why. You'll see why later on. But so she tells me, she goes, well, I told you I'm only going to give you pain medication for 3 months after your surgery. So I will give you this prescription, and then I will give you one more. And after that, you need to get off of them, stop taking them, and figure out your knee and go to physical therapy. So I'm like, okay. And I thought of it like that, like, oh, no big deal, whatever. I can figure something out by then. But then, of course, that third month rolls around. I'm starting to feel like crap and go through withdrawals, and I can't find anything on the street. So my date for refill of my prescription comes up, and I call, and I'm like, hey, I need to get my prescription refilled. And they're like, oh, the okay, we'll call. And I keep calling, like literally every 30 minutes. I call the doctor's office. Hey, I called the pharmacy. They haven't got my prescription yet. Uh, Said it would be filled today. Blah blah blah. I do that like maybe like 6 or 7 times, and then finally the assistant nurse gets on and calls me. She said, hey, you need to come in. The doctor wants to see you to fill a prescription. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll be right there. So I go in there, and I go in the office, and she goes, Nick, what? She's like, what the hell's going on? I was like, well, you told me you'd fill my prescription for one more month. And she said, I said 3 months after your surgery. And little did I know that I'm such an addict that I forget the last month was the third month that she gave me pills. And she straight up calls me out. She's like, you're acting like a fucking addict. She doesn't say the F word, but she's like, you're acting like an addict. I'm not going to fill in a prescription. You need to sort your shit out. You need to get off these freaking pills, and you need to go physical therapy and get your knee right, and da 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 da. And I was like, I'm going through withdrawals. I feel like shit. Like I need this pain medication. She goes, just the fact that you told me you're going through withdrawals, no, I know that you're an addict. Like you need to stop. She's like, you're gonna be okay. Just stop taking the freaking things. And I'm like, I'm in pain, blah blah blah. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, fuck off. Like I'll find a doctor that fucking cares. And she's like, okay, see you later, bye. So she basically kicks me out. So I go back to SCOE, the orthopedic center, for my follow up appointment, and I tell them that I'm in a lot of pain. They end up doing an X-ray, and they're like, "Yeah, you're pretty close to bone on bone." She's like, "But there's nothing we can do." And I was like, "Okay, well, what about like a pain management doctor? Like, I need something for pain, blah 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 blah." So they give me a referral for pain management. So I go to pain management. My first appointment with them, they ask me what's going on, blah 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 blah. The doctor's talking to me for like maybe 2 minutes, and he goes, "Okay, you okay with Norcos?" And I said, "Yeah, Norcos is what I had before. Those work great." So it gives me 10 through 25 Norcos. Here's another script. Boom. And at this point, like they just send the prescription straight to the pharmacy, so you don't even get like a paper slip or anything. So I don't even know how much you wrote. And then so I'm driving back home, and I look at my little Walgreens app, and I see that it's only 60 pills, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm like 60 pills for a whole month. Like I gotta figure something out. Like I gotta figure out how to get more pills, get more pills. So I start asking around, and like I had like a couple guys that were dealers. I had two people. I had one person that got them once a month, and then I had one person that got them in like the middle of the month. So when I didn't have a doctor giving me prescriptions, I would buy beginning of the month, middle of the month, and I'd have pills for the whole month. And I was spending like $1,200 a month on pain medication. So I'm starting to ask those guys like, hey, do you know anybody else that has like a full time supply of like of pain meds or something, and one guy gets back to me and goes, yeah, I got this one dude. He's got Percocets, like 30 milligram Percocets, and I was like, oh, how much does he want? He's like, oh, $7 a pill, and I'm like, oh, that's not too bad. I'm like, and they'll last me longer because they're stronger. I could take half. I'm like, so if I buy 10, I really have 20 in my mind. So I meet up with this guy for the first time, and the the presumption was that he had those, but he was going to try to find me Norcos because I just wanted Norcos. So I meet up the guy and I'm like, oh, did you end up finding Norcos? And he's like, oh, no, no. He's like, I got those, and he pulls out this big old bag of 30 milligram oxys, and I immediately think I'm like, damn, that's a lot of freaking pills, and it's not in a pill bottle either, you know. So he goes, yeah, I'll give them to you $7 a pill, but if you keep buying them, I'll drop the price, blah 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I think I bought like $200 worth, and I remember taking one when I got home, and I've had Percocet before, so I take one and I'm like, this is not a Percocet. I'm like, this is something else, and I'm like sitting there. I'm like, I feel great. Like the pain's gone. I feel amazing. But this is not Percocet. Like I know what Percocet feels like, and this is not Percocet. So I take one of the pills and I look it up, and the first thing that pops up on Google is fake cartel pills coming over the border, looking like 30 milligram Percocets or 30 milligram oxycodone pills, and it's literally the exact same thing. And it's like they're fake pressed pills with fentanyl in them, and fentanyl is it's a synthetic opioid, which is super duper strong, and the cartels and all this stuff they're making these fake pills, and not only the cartels, like there's tons of people just making these pills because fentanyl is so easy to make, I guess. So this is a readily supply. In my head, I'm like, fuck, I need to be careful with these because these things are like says what they are. Then the next thing under Google is thousands of people die every day on fentanyl overdose. So I'm like, shit. Like if I'm gonna take these things, like I need to be careful. And then I start reading all these articles, and the thing that makes them dangerous is that they're 30 milligram pills, but they're not really 30 milligrams of fentanyl. One pill, there was an article I read where this guy bought 10 pills off of a dealer, and he tested all 10 pills, and all 10 pills had a different milligram amount of fentanyl in them. One was 5 milligrams, one was 2 milligrams, one was 17 milligrams, one was 90 milligrams. So you never know what you're getting. And that's why people overdose, because they'll take one that has 2 milligrams in it, and like, oh, I don't feel it. And they take another one that has, 20 milligrams, and they go, oh, I feel it a little bit. And then they take another one that has 100 milligrams, and then overdose. So I'm like, okay, I need to be really, really like careful with these. If I take one, like no matter how good it takes away my pain or gets me high, makes me feel good, I can't take another one. Like I have to be careful. So I'm taking these damn things for a while, like for months, and I get to the point where I'm taking two at once, taking three at once sometimes. I'm definitely not being careful, but I've built such a tolerance up that I'm able to take more and more and more, and I'm spending so much freaking money, so much money, because they're readily available. I don't have to worry about, hey, do you got them or when you getting them on this date? Anytime I hit this guy up, yeah, can you meet at this time? Yeah, can you meet at this time? Yeah, can you meet at this time? Always available. The the dream dealer. And for an addict, that's like the best thing ever. And I don't ever have to worry about it. If I'm running out, I can call the day before, like, hey, you cool to meet at this time tomorrow? Yeah, no problem. See you there. Never an issue. So I'm taking these things, and the first time I don't have money, I start feeling like shit. And it's not like Norco's feeling like shit where you got diarrhea and you're throwing up, or not throwing up. I never really throw up on Norcos, but just like feeling nauseous and crappy. And no, this is bad. Like I felt like I was hallucinating because I couldn't sleep. I had diarrhea. I had the chills, the sweats, no energy whatsoever. Completely felt like crap. Never felt like this in my life. And the first time I go through withdrawals, it's pretty bad because I didn't get paid for 2 days. So I went 2 days without any, and I was hooked on the damn things at this point. So I go through withdrawals, and it's like the worst thing ever. And my wife's like, Like, what the fuck's going on with you? Like, da, da, da. I'm like, oh, I blame it on the anxiety. I keep saying I have really bad anxiety. I can't sleep. Like, my knee's killing me and I don't sleep and I have anxiety. And I think at this point she's starting to catch on. And like she thinks like I'm going through withdrawals and I just deny it. Like, no, I've gone through withdrawals before. Like, and she doesn't know that I'm taking fentanyl. She thinks it's just Norco's or Vicodin or whatever. So I'm like, I was like, I've gone through withdrawals before. Like, this is not something I felt before. This isn't withdrawals. This is something else. And so I think she's slowly catching on. She realizes that I'm taking these damn things. Excuse me. And it's getting to the point to where it's getting bad because I'm taking so much of these damn things, but they cost more, so I don't have as much money. So I'm going through withdrawals more and more, or at least like I'll go like 1 or 2 days going through withdrawals, 1 or 2 days going through withdrawals until I get money. So this goes on for a while, and eventually, like she starts seeing money, like where's this money going? Like where's this money going? Where's this money going? And I just have like the dumbest things, like oh that's just that's just how much the paycheck is. Like that's how much it is. Oh they screwed up my paycheck, or oh this or oh this. And while I'm working for this wind company, I keep going on to the like HR portal for our pay stubs, and I keep changing. Like I went and got like a separate bank account, and I dump money into it every paycheck. So every paycheck I have money for pills. And this goes on for a couple months until she like realizes like no he's she sees the card, like she knows it's a separate bank account. I tell her I use it for um, like something stupid. I'm sure I can't remember what I tell her I use it for, but she knows that money's going on that card. But I keep telling her like, oh, they're screwing up my paycheck or this or that, and so she knows. Like she gets to the point where she doesn't even want to argue about it anymore. And like the bills are always late. Like we don't have money readily available unless she saves her money from her job. And I'm an addict. I don't give a fuck as long as we have money for food and like the cell phone bills, like the main things. Like I don't give a shit where the other money is going. It's going towards my addiction, and that's the bottom line in my head. So it gets to the point where like I don't have any money, right? There's 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 no money readily available. So I start going through withdrawals, and 3 days away, like 4 days away from payday, and I'm going through bad withdrawals, and like I can't sleep. I'm tossing around, tossing everywhere, like all over the bed. I'm hitting my wife because I don't even know like what I'm doing. I'm flipping around, like smacking her, and can't sleep. Like it's the worst thing ever. You feel like complete dog shit. You're throwing up. You're shitting yourself, and you're so like to me. I was so like out of it, so like hallucinating almost. And like the night before payday, it was the worst thing ever. And she knows at this point. This has been months of this. She knows like you're going through withdrawals. Like you need to get off these fucking things. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, it's not withdrawals. No, it's not withdrawals. So one night, really bad night. Like I'm so out of it from not sleeping. I've been up for like 30, probably like 2 straight days, like almost 40 hours, and I can barely walk because I'm so like out of it. So like to me, I feel like I was in like a hallucinating state. Like I knew what I wanted, but I don't know where I'm going. And I remember I get up to go to the bathroom, and I trip over the bed, and I go to grab the doorpost, and the doorpost is here, and I grab right here, like 6 inches from the doorpost, and just completely miss it, head first into the entertainment center, and just boom, rack my head. And my wife wakes up. She goes, "What the fuck was that? What is this?" And she goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I think I hit my head." I'm like, "Turn the light on." And she turns the light on, and just freaking blood everywhere. It looks like a damn murder scene. And I freaking split my head open bad, like really bad. And I'll put pictures up for you visual people that are watching on YouTube. And if you want to go see the pictures, go check out the YouTube video, or I'll try to clip them on the podcast. But I split my head bad, and I'm bleeding everywhere, and I'm so out of it, and it almost snaps me out. Like it makes me so sober that I don't even like I like know exactly what's going on. My head doesn't even hurt because like I'm just the state I'm in. I'm bleeding everywhere. I get up, I go to the bathroom, I clean it off, I put like a rag on it, and I just go try to lay back down. And my wife's like what the fuck? Like, are you okay? You okay? I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I just need to try to go to sleep. I need to try to go to sleep. So like, I don't even know how she's. I don't know how she's feeling. I don't know like what her mindset is at this point. Like she cleans up all my blood, like all this, all that, and then like what is like how does she like does she think I'm gonna like go to sleep and not wake up? Did I hit my head that hard? Like whatever, and I'm just like, oh, I'm fine. It's not even that bad. And the morning comes, and she's like, you need to go to the hospital, and I'm like, no, it's okay. I don't think it's that bad. And I get up, take a shower, and I see it, and like it's like like the top of my head is like drooping. So it's like pretty bad. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna come home. We're gonna go to the ER. So we go to the ER, tell them what happened. I end up getting 9 stitches in it, and I come home. Like we come home, and she has to go, do errands and stuff, and I'm just in the bed. And when she like all I'm thinking about is I just got to make it through today, and tomorrow I'll be able to meet my dealer and get some more pills, and I'll be fine. So she comes in right before bedtime, and I'm like out of it just because of my head, and I'm going through withdrawal still, so I can't sit still, like I can't sleep. And she tells me like she comes in the room, and she goes, yeah, so I looked up online, and you would only have to pay me like $800 a month in child support. So I'm gonna need your help to like pay for everything, to pay for the house and for the rent and all that stuff. And at first I'm like what the fuck? She's like, if you don't stop taking these pain pills, I'm leaving. Like I'm gonna file for divorce. I'm gonna get custody of the kids, and I'm leaving you. And I'm like, and immediately I'm like, I want to get off these things. Like, I'm gonna get off these things. I need to get off these things. I need help. Like, I need to get off these things. And she's like, she's like, okay, but you have to get off them, or I'm leaving. So, and the fucked up thing is that as soon as she leaves the room, the first like my addiction mind is like, oh, what if I'm single? I'm like, what if I just let her leave me and I'm single? I don't have to worry about her bitching about money. I give her the bare minimum. Don't have to worry about money. Buy all the pills I want. Live by myself. Be a bachelor. And and as fucked up as it is, like that's an addict's mind. Like all we think about is the next high. So it's like I don't give a shit. Like leave me. I'll be better off because I'm gonna be able to get as many pills as I want. But truthfully, that's not how I felt. And luckily at the time, I didn't have any pills in my system. I was in full blown withdrawal, so like I had a clear mind in a sense. Of course, that's the first thought because all I want is pills at the moment. But when I sit there and think, I'm like I have to stop taking these things. I need help. I'm not gonna lose my family over this shit. You can bet your bottom dollar I'm not gonna fucking lose my family. I'm not gonna lose my wife. But the next day is payday, and I go and meet my dealer, and I think I got like 30 pills, and I tell him, I tell my dealer, I'm like, yeah, this is probably the last time I'm gonna buy them. I know I owe you money, but like this is the last time I'm gonna buy them, man. Like I need to get off these things, uh, and he's like, oh, and he's the dealer, oh, well, maybe if you just stop, like, don't take as many, like, only buy them here and there. And I'm like, nah, I just need to stop taking them altogether. So I was like, okay, boom, well, whatever, bye. So the pills last me. I tried to use them to wean myself off, which is fucking stupid because I already had pretty much them out of my system. If I would have went maybe 2 more days, I probably would have started like feeling normal again. And I take the 30 pills or 40 pills, whatever it was, and I try to like barely take them and like wean myself off, which is stupid because I was already off of them. And then I end up going through withdrawals again. And like I didn't tell my wife that I went and bought pills, of course, but I called the doctor. I called the doctor that I told to fuck off, the one that called me an addict. I call her to make an appointment, and they asked why the appointment, and I just tell them I said I need help with opioid withdrawal. So I go there, and I go to the appointment, and I actually have my son with me because my 3-year old because I had nowhere to take him, and it was like like an emergent appointment, like she could get me in right then. And she tells me she's like Nick, like you're gonna be okay. Like you just need to stop taking them. And I'm like, you don't understand what I've been taking. Like I am bad, like in a bad spot. And she's like, well, like what are you gonna do? I'm like, I need help getting off of the damn things. And she goes, okay, well then you're gonna go to treatment. And I was like, all right. She's like, you're gonna take your son home right now, and you're gonna go to fucking treatment. She's like, you want my help? I'm gonna get you help. She's like, sit right here. I'm gonna go make some calls. So she goes and makes some calls, and she comes back and she goes, okay, the first they can get you in right in the morning. So you have to be there at 5 a.m. It's a 4-hour process, and they're gonna get you treatment. And I'm like, okay. She's like, you better fucking go. She's like, I don't want to see you ruin your life over some fucking pain medication. So like, she was probably like the she tried to help me in the beginning. She tried to help me back then when she knew that I had an issue. And instead of asking for help, I told her to fuck off because my addiction was so strong at that point. And I th- I I thank God that she was the way she was when I went back to her the second time. Like she realized that I was an addict and I was speaking as an addict when I told her to fuck off. And this time she knew that I was in a bad spot and I needed to get off the damn pain pills. So I end up going to treatment. I end up going to treatment, and at this point, I'm like 3 days. I did the whole methadone thing to help with withdrawals. I did it for about two, two, 2 to 3 weeks, and still doing it, and it's helped tremendously. I haven't taken any pills in a long time. So I mean that's a good route to go. I couldn't go to detox as much as I wanted to just go to like an inpatient rehab 30-day detox. I couldn't do it. I was so afraid of like uh, the judgment of everybody around me the and like worrying about my job and all this stuff. And what's funny is as soon as I was officially clean, like I was like, I want to tell my story because I think it'll help people. And now it's like, it's funny because I was more worried about people's judgment when I was an addict, but now that I'm sober, I'm like, I want everybody to know, like, this is what I was going through. And you do some crazy stuff as an addict. I'm telling you, you do some crazy stuff. I took my kid's birthday money one time. Took my kid's birthday money so I could have money for pills the next day. I sold stuff that, just, I'd sell stuff around the house. Um, I used to have like a collection of nice guns. I sold them all to buy pills. I bought a laptop one time, nice ass laptop, sold it for pills. Like you'll do anything in the middle of addiction to get what you need, and it doesn't matter what people feel. Like you come first. Like fuck my wife, fuck my kids. As long as I have pills, I'm good to go. But when I'm on pills, oh, I'm the best, at everything. So and just like living this sober life, like it's cool because I have energy for everything. I'm the dad that I always knew I could be, and I knew I was. And all the stories I like talk to my wife about, like, oh, I did this and I did this, and like she's kind of like blown away. And I think the craziest thing is like the money, like how much money I spent on pain pills. It's it's an astronomical number, and thankfully I'm like not only did I try to kill myself, but then thankfully I didn't kill myself by taking fucking fake pills. And like there was one time when I was scared when I thought I took too many because I was like I was so crazy that I was like, oh shit, like I think I took too many. And luckily I ended up coming down, and then didn't teach me any lesson though. I mean, I still did the same fucking thing. Addiction's crazy, man. It's really crazy. And when you stem back to like your first time trying it, and like you know, trying it at a party and messing around, like cocaine, painkillers, whatever, drinking, smoking weed. You never think of it like, oh, I'm gonna be addicted to this one day. You know, 15 years from now, I'm gonna be doing everything I can in my power to get a hold of these fucking times of these things, these types of things. And it's crazy to think about it like that. And I know people that are in the same story as me that are still trying to climb out of that hole. Like I honestly, I blame two people for getting me for being addicted to pills. I blame the first doctors when they just prescribed me anything and everything I asked for because they didn't know how serious addiction can be. And I blame myself for the many times that I could have stopped taking pills and made life so much easier for myself instead of getting so bad that I was doing the things I was doing and being a piece of shit person to my family and everybody around me just so I could have pain pills the next day and the day after that and the day after that. And addictions, it's just a crazy story, man. It's really crazy to deal with, and the time the how many times I've gone through withdrawals and felt like shit where I could have just said screw it, like I can get through this, and just never mind, I'm just gonna go buy more pills and be fine. Like it's really a crazy thing, and I hope a lot of people can gain from this. There's always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. You can always find help. There's always people that care, and I think that's the biggest thing. Because I got to the point to where I didn't think anybody cared. I didn't think that life. At one point, I didn't think life was worth it, and I tried to freaking end it. And you get these crazy mindsets, and I think you have to surround yourself with people that love you and don't destroy relationships. I know it's hard to say that, but when you burn every bridge, it's hard to have any bridge to cross to get help when it comes that time. And luckily, I never, fentanyl's pretty freaking bad, but like luckily I didn't go to heroin and all that stuff and end up living on the streets because I was able to, have people around me that cared. That doctor that, said go to fucking treatment, and my wife putting her foot down and telling me she was going to leave me because it was a real slap to the face. And I realized, like, this is it. I have to stop this shit. I can't lose my family. I can't lose my wife. I can't lose all the things I have in life. And I have a nice life. I have a very blessed life. I have a lot of things that a lot of people don't have. And if I would have thrown it all away for pills, I would have never forgave myself. If I would have just said fuck it and kept doing pills and lost my family and everything, I know for a fact I would think about it every day and just it's chasing the dragon, man. You really are. You're chasing that damn dragon, that mythical creature, because that's all you care about. That's all you want, to grab that fucker by the tail and ride it to the moon. And the story's crazy, and it's motivated me to start this podcast. It's motivated me to reach out and do a lot of things, and I'm going to start going to meetings as well and tell my story. And I know people have crazier stories where they rob gas stations for money because they needed drugs, and luckily I never got that crazy. I always just screwed people over close to me, or I borrowed money here and there, borrowed money here, borrowed money here. Oh, I'll pay you back this time. I'll pay you back at this time. And it's just a snowball effect of shit, snowball of shit. It's not gonna get you anywhere. It's not gonna get you anywhere. And I hope everybody enjoyed my story. I'm sure I'll go back to it in future episodes and tell little things that I remember, like little instances of crazy things that happened, and other stories of things when I was younger that kind of like pointed towards my addiction, but didn't think of it then. I have a lot of stuff like that. I have a lot of stuff written down, and I'll get into it in the next episodes or future episodes. And once I start having guests on too, we'll get to talk about some crazy stuff and things that they remember about me that that made them think I was on something, or that they didn't have a clue and I was just functioning addict. And I have, hopefully, my good friend is going to come up on Thanksgiving and do an episode for me. I have two other people that are good friends of mine that are hopefully going to do episodes with me by the end of the year. If not, I'll be here every day or every Friday. I'll be here for you, and you can listen to me ramble on about whatever. The next episode, I'm going to talk about probably current events, what's going on in the world. I'll talk a little bit about me, a little bit more personal things about me. Get to know me a little bit better, except for the fact that I was a piece of shit addict, and now I'm a sober badass. And fun stuff, right? Fun stuff. This podcast will be cool, and I hope it helps people. And then I hope people stay listening just because they like me, because I'm not always going to talk about addiction, but I'm sure I'll talk about it always in the future because it's something that I have to deal with every single day. That's the thing. Addiction never leaves. It's literally a disease. If people that don't think addiction is a disease, you can suck my dick because it really is. It's not something that's easily cured, and when it is cured, it's always with you. I had my first craving about a week ago. About 10 days ago, I had my first craving. I don't even know why, but it's all you got to fight it. You got to live, keep living, and get through it. So, all you other addicts out there, all you other survivors, keep listening. I'm a fun guy. We'll have some fun on this podcast. The guests will be fun. We'll have some fun stories, and I hope you guys keep listening. And we'll keep working to stay sober, and keep busting our ass in this world, and trying to make it a better place for ourselves and our families. And you guys know what it is, right? You guys know what it is. We'll laugh about this tomorrow.